This one is Songs That Define Us, where we talk to artists who are in the progressive space. And, you know, at least from my perspective, I feel like anybody I've ever talked to in progressive space, there's usually a song that kind of shaped them at some point to get them kind of to the space. Or if I talk to like folks on the right wing, every song they say usually has nothing really to do with like much at all, except maybe a song they like. But it does seem like folks who are progressive or who want to see a progressive world tend to have some song that kind of shaped their way of thinking. So we use that song just to kind of kick off a conversation. So it's not just a conversation about that song, but maybe how that song has shaped you. And for you, you know, has it, you know, how it maybe shaped your writing, how it shaped you wanting to join a band, how it shaped you, how you feel personally about things that are happening right now in society. So, so we'll use your Good Charlotte Hold On to kind of get us in that conversation.
I hope that's all right. It's funny because I was thinking of like political songs that have inspired me, and a few come to mind, but you know, even I was racking my brain over this, and for me, political ideologies didn't really play a really big role in my life until much later. So I was thinking of something that really started changing me as a person, and I went with this song. It's the earliest thing I could think of that really had an impact on me and definitely changed the course of my life.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah, and I was actually super excited because you didn't pick a straight sort of like song that, you know, maybe you thought would fit what we're looking for versus one that really, so the first one we did was a street artist named Eddie Cola, who did War Pigs, but really the conversation was sort of about how that kind of defined his role as or seeing like his role and where he is in like the working class society. And that was kind of, so it really wasn't about a social movement. It was just about him kind of recognizing, oh yeah, I guess, you know, when war comes, they're going to be kind of calling for me, sort of thing. So yeah, there's certainly no right or wrong answer. And I've, as somebody who listened to that song, have seen Good Charlotte a few times, I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too.
So do you have a time frame that you are we button up against anything, or if we just kind of roll, are we good to roll for a while?
We're good to have a conversation, I think. I wouldn't want to leave a conversation incomplete.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if you had something that, you know, I could make sure I wrapped up before a certain time.
It is the last day of my weekend, so we've got a nice sunny day outside, and I definitely have some landscaping to do before I leave for tour for 3 weeks. Okay. When gardening weather becomes optimal.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can't. You're probably like that too. We can't plant anything till Mother's Day here in Ohio, so.
Yeah, there's certain things that we can plant. Like I've got my poor daffodils. They started sprouting, so I planted the bulbs, and then we got a snowstorm, and then we got an ice storm, and then we got another ice storm. And I don't know if they've survived or not.
They're tough, I think. So, all right, well, I'm going to do a quick introduction of the podcast, and then we'll just start having a conversation, if that works with you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Oh, this is Jay, our producer. Jay is awesome.
Hello, Jay.
So when anything that sounds good is him, anything that sounds bad is me. So
okay, noted.
Well, welcome to Songs That Define Us. This is the podcast where we talk to artists, whether the visual, music, authors, and others who look at their background, look at something that they listened to growing up that really has defined their, I don't want to say their role in life, but certainly has defined their outlook on life, has shaped them as a human being. And today we are with Valerie Knox from the Anti-Queens. And before,
hello.
How you doing, Valerie?
Good.
And before we get into your song, and I'm excited about this song because here as, you know, we do this podcast through our labor movement here. And a lot of folks think that we want them to pick a specific song that has to do with the labor movement or something. Your song, I think, is actually very important when we're seeing what's happening, at least here in America. Valerie is from Toronto. I'm sure she's got her elbows up, as they say.
Definitely.
And but the song you picked, I think, is really important because when we're seeing here in America, especially the attacks on our LGBTQ and trans youth, our attacks on anybody that is a little bit different. I think the song that you picked is one that is really critical in making sure that they feel and see heard, that they feel and see somebody sees them. I think that's something that you have done within your music. I think it's something that punk music does in general. But the song you chose is Good Charlotte's Hold On. And I think for so many younger folks now in a society that wants to demean them, wants to treat them as something different, wants to see them and make them feel less than, I think that's a message that I hope can get through to them. So what was your experience with Hold On when you first heard it?
So with that song, it's interesting. Gosh, trying to figure out where to start. So I was a teenager, learning how to play guitar, learning my favorite songs on guitar, and Good Charlotte was a band I already really liked, and I liked their first album, and I went on Napster and found their like singles that I didn't have access to otherwise. It was much tougher to track music down specifically back in those days. But yeah, Good Charlotte was a band I followed. Good Charlotte is a band I like to learn the songs, power chords. It's easy. That's where I started. It's punk rock. And then they put that album out. Oh my gosh. What was the album called? I'm having a total brain fart right now. But they put their second album out, and it had this song on it, which ended up being a single. And at the time, I was really struggling with mental health. Teenager. Kind of an outcast. Like, I was the kid that always wore black at school. And, I had a mohawk. I just, didn't fit in anywhere. I didn't really get like bullied or picked on. I was actually on student council, and I was good with talking to people, but there was something inside myself that felt different this whole time, even now. And when they put that song out, I was just thinking how much I related to it and how much of an impact musically, sonically, and then with the message, how much that really, really just like, I don't know, it hit me really hard. And it's a song that made me feel seen, and it made me feel like, okay, there's other different folks out there too. And yeah, it's not worth, putting yourself through so much pain, and struggling with it and just dwelling on you're different, and just focus on what's the positive things about it. And from there, I just, this band's singing about this, maybe I'll start talking about it. And it is something that I'm always open to talk about, even now. And I think it's extremely important that, we talk about suicide and mental health and all that comes with it.
Yeah,
hope that's a good enough.
Yeah, no, it's great. And, for my generation, right, we had REM and Everybody Hurts was kind of a similar sort of thing where, there was this, rash of youth suicides. And I do believe a lot of it was around, kids who just, couldn't be themselves, whether it's because of who they loved, whether it's because how they wanted to identify. And as much progress as we've made, both since REM and even Good Charlotte, right, we are also seeing, unfortunately, a generation of politicians using them as a scapegoat to get votes and make them, without seeing them or seeing the consequences of their actions. And
they've made it really clear that they don't care, these politicians. And I can't imagine being among, a vulnerable community in the U.S. right now. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Well, it was, I don't want to say it's interesting because it's sad. Yesterday, to date this podcast, yesterday was our hands-off day of actions across the country, and I was at our Columbus, Ohio day of action, which was awesome to see 5,000 people coming together. I was talking to Jay, our producer, a little bit before this, and, seeing everybody holding a sign completely different from the person next to them because there's so much going on, but yet all unifying together under, this idea that we should all belong and all our voices should be heard. But your song Apocalypse She, it dawned on me when so after that I went to a protest at Tesla, because every Saturday we protest in front of the Tesla dealership. And
Amazing.
there was a older woman with her oxygen bag. And I went up and started talking to her, and she had a sign that said, and she was at, and it rained all day yesterday. And she was at the rally in Columbus being rained on, and she was made it up herself to Tesla to be rained on. So she was out there for hours and hours, and she had a sign that said, I'll fight till my dying breath. And across the street was a young MAGA guy in his $200 sneakers and his full Kid Rock USA getup with the hatch of his truck up so he wouldn't get wet. And
wow.
I guarantee you, if you talk to him, he would tell you how masculine he is, right?
Yeah.
That's their version of masculinity. And they're going to put down the woman who literally could die at any minute, but is out there fighting for, not just for herself, but for everybody who is out there. And, your song, it really dawned on me with your song, the song Apocalypse She about, I don't know, maybe it is time for like women to kind of run shit.
I think it all comes down to whose sound of mind, whose sound of mind, who says things that make sense. She was the alternate option, and I thought it was just, I don't know. Again, blown away. A lot of people are in shock with what's going on ever since the election back in November in the U.S. And it's just been day after day after day of just more shocking things. I don't even know how to articulate on that further.
Do you find your role in your band to offer, a voice to folks? Is that something that you consciously think about as you and your bandmates write songs? Is that something that...
Absolutely. Anything with a message isn't completely intended. And these are things that we believe in personally. And it's not, we try to get more courage to speak up and say more. We're not an overly political band. First and foremost, we like to have fun. We like to go out and have a show and make sure everyone in the crowd is having fun. And I feel like we do a pretty good job at that. But there are certain things that are important to us. And, the more we step out, the braver we get with speaking on those and stop worrying about how it could divide, our potential fan base. But there are things that we are absolutely have drawn a line in the sand on certain topics.
And I'm somewhat close with Ken Casey, the Dropkick Murphys, and obviously they are out there using their voice in a very straight...
they're killing it.
Oh, they are killing it. And, and having conversations with him about it, right? And what their role is, and people obviously telling them, I'm not going to listen to your music anymore because you're too political and whatever it may be. And, but in his response has always been, that's what punk rock has always been about. That's what we've been about since the day we were formed is acceptance and giving a voice to working people, whether, you're gay, straight, black, white, immigrant, not, whatever it is. Like that's what, real punk rock is all about. Do you think that's what...
It's community.
Do you think that's what drew you
supporting
to,
your community?
Yeah. Is that what drew you to the punk rock scene?
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes. It's the fact, a lot of it was the music. It was aggressive and fast when I first started getting into punk rock. And, they were saying, some bands were saying things of substance that I related to. And the more I dove into punk rock and the more people I met that were also very interested in punk rock, the happier I got, the more I felt like I did belong. And, going back to the song, that doesn't happen in high school. That doesn't happen when you're a teenager. You don't have that access. Well, I mean, perhaps now with technology, but we didn't have crazy social media to connect with people and we had text messaging was new. It was still new, and that was all still a novelty. But yeah, and sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's punk rock, definitely sense of community, and it's definitely something that pulled me to it further, more and more. And then you find more messaging, you find different points of view, different ideologies, and everyone's listening to each other, you know? Unless, of course, it's you're in a punk band, you're a punk singer, and, you know, you join the Proud Boys. Then everyone joins together and cutting you out of it.
Yeah, well,
which I'm okay with.
Yeah, we're okay with Danzig with that too. But we'll
oh yeah, I forgot about.
we'll leave him aside for now. It is really disappointing. But you mentioned, you know, kind of finding things on social media. But the one thing I think, you know, I haven't seen your show live. I've certainly read about the Anti-Queens, and hopefully I can make it down to Newport and be the old guy in the room. But that's what's so
you
great.
wouldn't be alone.
But that's what's so great about live music, right? Is it's not online. It is folks coming together and really experiencing the differences is what makes it so exciting at a punk show. Is there's not two people usually who are the same.
There's energy at a punk show. There's energy, and you just walk into the room and you feel it. And you don't get that on Spotify playlists. You don't get that listening to albums. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking different forms of media, but the live show is the most important part because that's what's going to introduce you to new ideas and new thoughts and new experiences. I mean, just in general, leaving your house and talking to other people is for the betterment of society. I think I keep pushing, I keep saying this, that live music is so important. And here in Ajax, where I live, I'm learning about all these new bands that are finally starting to emerge. It was very quiet for years here with not a lot of new bands, not a lot of scenes. I mean, the pandemic absolutely played a role in that. But, you know, it's important to see the next generation come up and support that generation. So we keep cultivating local music because that's where it all comes from. You know, like, yeah, you like the guys that you hear on the radio, but they came from somewhere and they wouldn't have gotten there if we didn't have that form of supporting music and seeing it live. That's what reels you in.
And you mentioned something earlier, which I think is so important about why you should get off your screen and go to a live show is the idea of expanding your mind, of understanding and learning different things. And you talked about that as a little bit ago about the shows and, you know, not feeling so insulated that you think you know everything, right? Or you think you've seen it all. But I think that's what the true punk experience gives as well, is the acceptance for everybody to come and learn and not have to feel a part of that.
I
so
mean,
how much do you learn?
For most areas of it.
Yeah. How much do you learn through each show as you're traveling both Canada and the US?
You know, I always love watching live bands. And that is one of the most fun parts of touring, when you get to play with a bunch of different bands, is just seeing how they do it and then comparing and seeing what they talk about. And, you know, seeing live music has shaped the way I perform on stage. You know, it's shaped the way I deliver certain things that I say. You know, I like to have fun and try and be funny, but, you know, if you don't laugh, I'm not going to get awkward. I'm going to laugh at myself. And, you know, it definitely brings out your confidence seeing other people do it, seeing what they're talking about and realizing, okay, I can do that. And another reason why live is so important, live music is so important, is because I get to see all of this stuff and it's great. And then there's things that you see and you're like, yikes, oh, I don't want to do that on stage. And that's also learning, you know, and it's for my point of view, obviously, is from the point of the stage. But I mean, you go and you watch a band, you see what they talk about. Now you know that, like, oh, I can talk about that too. You're encouraging conversation, especially when you talk about things that affect the community you're in or the society we're all sharing.
And talking with the Dropkick Murphys, you know, obviously they sing a lot about workers and working people. And you know, I mentioned this to them whenever I see them, is how important it is for blue collar people, for workers, to feel seen, right? Because a lot of times, especially in popular music, especially now, it seems like that sort of voice isn't as prevalent as maybe it was in prior generations.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. There's so many things that are wrong, and there's so many topics to cover. you can't just take time to focus on one. You know, sorry, I had to jump in there.
Oh, no, no. And that was going to be my question is, how important is it for the band to provide that voice? Because a lot of, at least what I've felt like you've sung about really is, lending a voice, whether it's the empowerment of young women, whether it's sort of just, societal things, but how important it is, do you think, for a band it is to lend a voice, thinking about hold on, right? Like the idea of being seen. And if you're not seen in music, I don't know, sometimes that's the best place to be seen.
Well, I think that number one, if you're a band and you have a platform, use it for something. I don't think that it's right for any creative person to intentionally form their path based off of this. However, I think that if you have a platform, there is a level of responsibility to make sure that you're promoting, one, the best version of yourself, and two, positivity and acceptance. And, I think it's really important that you get up on your platform, and if something that is directly connected to you, especially, you say something about it. For example, there's plenty of Canadians. So Mike Myers recently has been very vocal and in the media about Elbows Up and, Team Canada, and endorsed Mark Carney, one of the people running for he's our current prime minister, but also running for prime minister this month. And I haven't seen, there's like a bunch of celebrities, Canadian celebrities, that I would hope would just stand up and be like, yeah. I feel like there's a level of responsibility for like Ryan Gosling, who's Canadian, but is, making his career in the US and lives down there. Like, say something, bro. I don't know.
No, I was actually.
There's a lot of.
No, sorry. No, that's my fault for interrupting, because I was actually really thinking about this. And I'm not here to point out any individual, right? Whether, but it dawned on me, with. You hear this about, in America anyway, whether it's Taylor Swift or any other, well, they have so much to lose. And it's like, do they have more
absolutely.
to, but it's also, do they have more to lose than you or any other musician trying to make a career, right? And some argument I made they have less to lose because I think she'd be okay. I don't mean to point her out individually, but like, there's a thing in America, I don't know if it's the same in Canada, that like, well, if you're really wealthy, you have too much to lose to get involved. And I would maybe argue you have less to lose than the steelworker, because
for sure. I mean,
they lose their job, they lose their house.
Totally. And I think that there's, if people are comfortable and it's not affecting them, then regardless of what their financial situation is, if it's not affecting them, then they don't really need to say anything. They're not gonna feel why it's important to talk about it until it does affect them. And that really shows, in my opinion, a lack of empathy amongst society. Because I don't know, this past February, I noticed in my hometown just a growing population of unhoused people. And I got involved with my local shelter, and I would, on my Facebook groups, go and try to let people know, hey, I'll come pick stuff up. I need jackets. I need hats, I need gloves. I'll come to your house and pick it up. I will save you the trouble. And it was really successful. And I also raised over $1,000, which I used to buy hundreds of hats and socks and stuff. But anyway, sorry. For me, I'm not unhoused. I have a home. I'm not affected by things, whether or not it's funded, rather. But I do think that it's really important as a human being that you are cared for. I think that's so important. If you're going to live in a society, it's important that we, connect and make sure we're taking care of each other.
Oh, sorry, I lost your audio.
Uh-oh.
Well, I hear you, just a little low.
Try that. I think we're good.
Oh, Jay says we're good.
Okay. It's just rambling. Just basically, it's just really important for us as a society to make sure that everyone is taken care of. So if this election, the one guy who's not necessarily going to benefit you, but not going to hurt you. And that's how you would normally vote. You know, it's take a look at how he's going to affect other people. And I don't know, give a shit.
Well, I
Because
think,
that could be you one day.
and even
the
if
way-
and even if it's not, I think that's why I was so excited about you picking the song "Hold On," right? Because like it's not political to see people. It's not political to say stop bullying people from the highest level of government. Like that shouldn't be political.
Absolutely not. And, you know, for the song, too, you know, it really touches on suicide specifically. I personally attribute it to mental health, more of a spectrum in that sense, because there's so many different ways that mental health can affect you where it might lead to different circumstances. But, you know, I liked how it kind of created the visual of community is important because you're leaving people behind that do care about you. And the more people that care, maybe, I don't know, maybe that teenager won't get beat up for transitioning. You know, maybe they won't be murdered for just trying to be their true selves. And I think government, above all, has a fucking moral responsibility to make sure they are not creating pathways for people to behave in a way that puts their life above someone else's. That should be like the number one thing. And I don't understand how funding is getting cut for healthcare. And I don't understand how you're not allowed to say that I'm a woman if you were born a male. The fuck is wrong with that? Sorry, I just...
Don't apologize. Never apologize for standing up for other people. And as you know, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be part of the labor movement, because I do think for the imperfections we have, right, our union contracts never say the female workers get 83% of what the male workers get, right? The black female worker never gets 76% of what the white male worker gets. The LGBTQ worker doesn't have the same union rights as we have, right? It's one of the few places I could find where, you know, most of that, right? We all have our own individual prejudices or whatever, but as a organization, as the union contract, it covers everybody the same. Mm-hmm. And to your point, like that, why is it that government doesn't do the same?
Absolutely. I don't see what the problem is with one, letting people just be who they are, and two, don't go out of your way to make it more difficult for them. Like, you have the ability to not do that. Sorry, here's the thing. I got to be entirely honest with you. I've worked in retail my whole life. I'm not as well versed with union language and policy. I've never, unfortunately, had the opportunity to even consider joining a union. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm part of the music union, but I don't think it's the same thing. I pay dues, and they petition for me to get visas to play your country.
Well, that's something. We'll take it. But, you know, it is, but that's what the labor movement, you know, again, like this isn't strictly about the labor movement. You don't need to be in one to hopefully see some of the benefits that we do. Again, this is not like, oh, we're great and do everything like we do. But there is something to just this idea of fairness that, you know, no matter who you are, if you go to work at 8 hours a day, you should get paid the same as anybody else who does not work 8 hours a day.
Agreed.
And even in the music industry, right, that's not always the case, as we've seen in the entertainment industry. It's not always the case, if ever. And we've, you know, thankfully now have more and more female actors and others standing up for more fair pay. But I think the music industry obviously can be a little bit trickier in that, you know, I don't know how bands
music
decide
industry,
to get paid.
It's all contractual, contract by contract, right? In terms of performances. And there's no set rate. There's no set rate. You are basically, when you're booking a show, your value is determined. And then they give you a price, essentially. They give you an offer, right? And then over time, realistically, how it's supposed to go is your offer grows if your band grows, essentially. And, if you can sell the tickets, you're going to get paid for it. Where the problem in the music industry isn't so much the payment, it's the presence of women. There's an entire festival. I can't remember what it's called now. It's escaping me, but it's like 90s, 2000s, like cock rock, like dude, bro. It's like,
Well, there's so many. Could have been.
But the entire lineup is all white men. The entire lineup. It's a whole festival. It's a whole professionally put on festival. It's all white men. Every single performer on stage. There's a couple Facebook accounts I follow, and they basically they do all the research and they put together the percentages of male versus female versus non-binary. And there are still festivals today that the female presence is still less than 15% for an entire 3-day festival. That's insane. And like, it's like 90, it's like, or sorry, it's going to be like 80 something percent white men or even more than that, and 0% non-binary or gay or LGBTQ, at 0 trans, or you'll get like 1 trans performer. So, I mean, it's gotten better from my perspective. I've had my challenges, and there are certain things that, I'm not too sure how to tread still. I see other people, I've had an experience where I've encountered a situation that I've seen other people encounter, the same situation, where they behaved away and everything was fine. And then I behaved away and I was reprimanded for it. And, it's just the other person obviously was a male and I'm female. And it's just, there are some disparities there still. We celebrate every time we get a woman sound tech.
Should we get you your
always high five her?
I guess we need to get your
We go out
handmaid's
of-
outfit.
Don't joke.
But speaking of Canada, because, there was back when I was really getting in, when festivals were kind of starting out, we had one tremendous Canadian and Sarah McLaughlin that started the all-female Lilith Festival and was, what I remember, was certainly demeaned for it, right? It was certainly affected her career, I believe, for doing it, but she had the guts to do it. And, I hope there will be more who may try to follow her lead in that, so we don't see, the Limp Bizkits of the world continue to be retread out. And, so many amazing artists I saw at the Lilith Fair that I got introduced to that I never would have seen if I didn't go to that show. And
Yeah. And it happens like that. We get that all the time. It's the amount of times we'll go and we'll be direct support for a larger band. And the amount of times people come up like, oh, I've never heard of you before. You guys were so great, blah, blah. And it's, it's like, I don't anticipate them. We're a small band. I don't anticipate anyone to know who we are. But the fact that they needed to take time out of their experience at the concert to come tell us that, it's like, we keep thinking, anti-queens, like, just give us the opportunity. Just put us on a big national tour. Just let us do one and we'll show you. And, I see these massive national tours happening and I see very few, if at all any, women on the lineups. And, it's so discouraging sometimes because there's so many great bands out there that are fronted by women, or they're fronted by a trans person, or they're fronted by a person of color, and they're amazing. And you don't give them the opportunity because they don't look like the stuff that you already know you like, and that sucks.
It does suck. And, the Donnas for me were kind of one of those bands that, the first time I was like, oh, like that was one of the first times I saw women playing punk rock. Right. And it was like, and that's not on anybody else but me. Right. Like, but I also.
Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true because the promoters still have to put them in front of you. They still have to give you an opportunity to make the decision to go or not. So, I mean, you can't take full responsibility there.
Well, I'll take some in that, but I also, but I also think it's important for anybody listening to take the time to go investigate yourself. Don't just get into what's kind of being force fed to you. That I do think as a consumer of music, we have the opportunity because of the internet and because of to go find music outside. Like, I'm an old white guy, as you can tell. And I go on YouTube and I watch, I don't know if you ever watch any reaction videos on YouTube. All these people get paid to react to
Are we talking about like when they listen to a song and you get their first reaction?
Yeah. They get like paid.
Yeah,
to react.
I love those.
Yeah. And inevitably, right, it is a song from like my generation. So watching that reaction probably is a bunch of 50-something-year-old white guys like me trying to reaffirm their taste in music because everything they don't make music like that anymore. I'm like, bullshit. You're just not out trying to look for it. Nobody can sing like Linda Ronstadt, who is a tremendous singer. But there are plenty of singers that are very, very good that don't need auto-tune, right? But because they only are living in that time, they're not trying to investigate and expand their music. So that's what I mean by putting it on me or putting it on any other listener. I do think we have a responsibility to go search for new music because it's not like it was where you had radio stations or MTV to find music, and you may have had the cool, late night MTV show where they had punk music that you could find some of that. Now it really is algorithms. And I don't know how much the anti-Queens are going to come up in my algorithm, so I got to go find it.
100%. On TikTok, I mean, we've got a very small presence. We're not very good at it because, I mean, I don't know. I've tried and TikTok does not respond to me. That's fine. I don't make TikToks personally on my own for anything other than just to amuse myself. But for Annie Queens, it's like, we're not really sure how to stay on trends and like how to, get into the right audience. Like it doesn't work for us. There's people out there that just study algorithms and they study trends and then they go and make their video before anyone else can. And then, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't understand it. I understand it. I just, I'm not good at it.
Well, you shouldn't. I mean, hopefully you shouldn't have to be, right? Like, I think that's why hopefully live music becomes, as COVID has wrapped up and people are getting out again, I hope to see more and more folks going to see live music and discover new band. Like for me, I had the luxury of record stores everywhere growing up, and I could flip through album covers and get excited by that. That's how I found new music. That's how I found Guns N' Roses. I saw Live Like a Suicide.
I don't have that experience at all. We had CDs. You go to the record store, like HMV or Sunrise Records, and you could go get the one that you already heard about on TV, or and. Like I said earlier, we had Napster, which was huge. Napster is actually how I found the Misfits. I can't remember what I was looking for, but I found this song, Rat Fink, Misfits, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And that was the very first Misfits song I ever heard. And it's not even a popular song. Most people have never heard it.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
But Napster gave because you could, get songs for free. So I'd be like, oh, let me listen to this. Let me listen to this. Yeah.
And I mean, you could hear it before you pay. I don't know. As a teenager, I don't have any money. Like I use it to buy cigarettes and booze. So, Napster was very appealing because I was poor. So I'm like, yes, this is cool. Now I want to go buy this album. And that happened many times.
And I think but the cool thing about like the record store versus like that is, there's so much to look at, and it's almost like going to a bookstore, right? You start looking at covers and then you discover, or you read the back of the cover or on the sticker on the front of it, a band that I liked recommended this one. So it opened me up.
Oh, that's cool.
To that. Like those were things that, like they do on books. And so I don't know.
Spotify does that now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Spotify always has like artists you might like, and it's not that they're recommended. It's just bands that are like similar, or fans that like this band also like, so fan recommended essentially. They have like a little thing on a profile.
Okay. So that's something very similar to hopefully discover new music. But I do think it's up.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important for folks to go find those things and not just get stuck in our own out. And the same applies to society, right? We can get so stuck in our own algorithm that we can sort of either spiral, which I think
Absolutely.
going back to the mental health issue of, if we don't get out and experience humanity around us, sometimes I think that can cause some issues. Or B, if your algorithm just keeps telling you you're wrong for being who you are,
Yeah.
and you don't,
That's not going to help you.
it's not going to help. And you don't have a song like Hold On to hear to maybe drag you out of that. That spiral can happen. So that's my way of encouraging folks to go see live music, go see the Anti-Queens. Join me in Newport, Kentucky, or wherever they may be near you.
Yeah, we're going to play Southgate House. I think that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure we played there once, like 10 years ago.
It's a nice
Then
venue.
there's another I'm sorry, my geography's not great. But we played, I feel like it was Cincinnati or maybe it was Newport, I can't remember, but there's like a border in between a city and they're like I can't remember. There's like two cities that are right next to each other on a state border, I think.
Yeah, so Newport is just across the river of Cincinnati, and I think it is
Right,
the Southgate
okay.
House. Yep.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and then and then Cincinnati. So yeah, technically you could call it Cincinnati, but I think Cincinnati gets mad because it's Kentucky, and
Yeah, I picked up on a feud, a little feud last time I was there. But yeah, I remember. I can't remember. I feel like we played the Southgate House. If I remember correctly, it's a church. It's like a gutted church.
Yep.
And it's back then. I don't know now. I don't do the booking anymore, but it was run. I'm pretty sure entirely by women.
Yeah, I don't know if it is. I mean, it seems like so much in music venues change so quickly that it's hard to know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Southgate House is a great venue, and they always have great music because they do bring in music that's not just something that you would hear on the radio or whatever. So it's a great venue. Cincinnati tends to be a little more traditional that way, I guess.
Okay.
Mainstream, where it seems like Kentucky tends to bring more of the non-mainstream stuff. But at least from my experience.
What did you call it?
Mainstream? Do you have mainstream?
No, Nucky? Did you just call it
Kentucky.
Kentucky?
No,
I thought you called it Nucky.
I probably just moved
Do you guys
away
have
from the
pet names for
microphone.
other states?
I'm sure Cincinnati has plenty of pet names for Kentucky. Not to probably say on here, but
Fair enough.
so getting into if we can change the vibe a bit to getting into the band a little bit more about how do you all when it comes to writing? You mentioned very earlier in this conversation, because I've drug it down many different rabbit holes. That there is certainly a conscious effort in what you're saying, but is it does one person write the lyrics? Like how does the song come about for the Anti-Queens, or is it just in all different forms? Like I know certain bands, there's like a songwriter and they come with lyrics, and then we'll sit around and try to put music to it. Other ones, they kind of come up with the melody or something, and then somebody takes that off and writes lyrics to it. Is there a certain strategy?
We no direct strategy. It's funny. Going back to mental health real quick, it's everything I was struggling with as a teenager led to a lot of depression because a lot of pent up frustration with no outlet. And it turns out that it could have been the whole time not depression, and it could have been ADHD, as it turns out, because I've started approaching my mental health as if to treat that, and I'm with my doctor, and oh my God, what a difference. Anyways, but and I bring that up because I feel like all of us, if not majority of us, are very much like that, scatterbrained all over the place, different creative endeavors at different times of the day. It's very chaotic. So for this album that we wrote, that we're promoting still, Disenchanted, it was written over 4 years, well, 3 years, I guess, during the pandemic. We had just put out our first album, which we still haven't fully toured the US yet. And got locked down, so we started writing Disenchanted. And it started with just trying to get into it and get started. So the way we write is sometimes Emily does have an entire song structure, or at least a skeleton. She's got a start and like all the way to like she's got a verse, a chorus, she's got all the components that you would need to make a song, and she'll send it to me, and I'll tweak with the music. And there are times where I write an entire song, start to finish, with all the little dynamics and the shifts and the various parts, and I'll send it to her with like a placement title. And what she did for the 4 that I submitted, well, not submitted, it sounds weird to say that, but that I gave her and showed her, she worked off the placement holder title, and the songs turned into the music. She wrote over the music, all the lyrics from scratch, based off of the placeholder title. That wasn't intentional. That's what happened.
Interesting. So that's
it's all over the place.
Yeah, it seems like almost it almost seems like a challenge for a writer to do that, right? Like you want to challenge yourself to. I don't know. It just seems like to me a very and I don't want to say odd way, but almost a very challenging way. Forget who the artist I was just listening to an interview with, and Saint Vincent, who talked about in writing her new album, and the way she did it was very much. I think I don't want to say something similar, but not in the way you would normally write an album, because she, very specifically came up with a theme and then tried to, and came up with the music and then tried to fit, her lyrics into that, which was just, again, sort of a different way, very different way for her to write. It almost feels like getting that
would be challenging. Title. That sounds very frustrating.
Yeah.
Because
she said she would never do it again.
Yeah. So when you're being intentional like that, to make your creativity fit a mold, it's not gonna be an overly enjoyable process, because you're always going to be stressed about fitting into that mold. With Anti-Queens, in terms of topic, sometimes it's as simple as like us having a conversation. Emily and I will be talking about something that's important to both of us, and she has dove into these in her lyrics. And when we're picking our songs to put on an album, we're not really looking at what goes together and what doesn't. We're going with what we feel the strongest on. And some of them have a message, some of them don't. And then some of them are very, very hidden within the song, but there's some type of messaging somewhere in there. But we can be a little more forward with it. Our song Crusade was very intentional. It's just about the residential school situation in Canada, and learning about all these mass amounts of children that were taken from Indigenous families and put into these schools run by the Canadian government along with the church. And they were mistreated. They were stolen. They had no choice. They had to go. And then they were mistreated. And then if they didn't survive, they were buried in mass graves, which we're finding now. So we're very bothered by this. That affects us personally because, one, we care. We're empathetic. We're not monsters. So it's like, yeah, I care about all these fucking kids that were taken from their families, from people that were here before any of us. And you're going to murder them? And sorry, we weren't taught in very, very much detail about this situation. I feel like they breezed over the residential school system in history class growing up. Breezed over it. But we learned about our first leaders and how great they were, but they were starting this system. But wasn't equated to that. Our leaders weren't ever painted in a negative light in history books, as I'm sure most of your historic leaders aren't either in the curriculum history books, right? So we're pissed because we weren't taught this. And had we known, we'd be pissed much sooner. And I think everyone has a right to know what's going on and make sure. And we wanted to make sure that people knew that it's okay to not be okay with this as a white person, as a non-Indigenous person. It's okay to be mad about that because, quite frankly, that whole situation is shameful. And we're, praising our historic leaders for doing such a great job. But you also murdered a bunch of people to do it. Cool. Awesome. That's sarcasm.
Yeah, it is because we obviously, deal a lot with that here too when it comes to the Indigenous people here of, sort of obviously sugarcoating or not even talking about, And you mentioned, the idea of, I don't understand what's wrong with learning history. As a white male, I can feel empathetic and upset and anger towards what happened, to make sure it doesn't happen again. And
Well, that's the point.
and feel
That's the
bad at the
point,
same
is
time.
making
It's
sure it
okay to
doesn't
feel
happen
bad.
again.
It's okay to feel bad. Right?
Absolutely.
Like going back to the mental
It's
health
shocking.
thing, like it's okay to feel bad. It's not okay to have a government or others purposefully make you feel shameful, right? But yet then say they want to protect you and not teach you true history over certain things because they don't want you to feel bad as a white person.
I think it's the number one important thing is that it's okay to talk about with other people about it not being okay. Whatever the topic is where it's impacting maybe not you, but others, it's okay to be upset about that. And I think I think I said this before earlier, but the more we talk and converse with each other and share these ideas, share these opinions of right versus wrong, instead of just going by what the current status quo is, the more we do that, the more peaceful I think overall we could potentially be. If we're actively looking out for our communities, our vulnerable communities, our other community, like every community, if everyone's looking out and we're taking care of each other, I don't see how that's a bad thing. I think there's a point that you have to make sure that you get to live your life. You know what I mean? Like you can't make too much sacrifice for this, but I think some sacrifice should be negotiated, like the billionaires. Hey, let's cap them. Let's stop them from taking all of the money. Maybe they can't have all of it. They can have a lot of it, but maybe not all of it. Maybe, that's what I mean by like, maybe we kind of renegotiate certain things so more people are taken care of. Make that the idea of how you form government, making sure the people that need the most care are receiving the most care and the people that need some care are still receiving some care in whatever capacity. I don't understand why we don't work towards that. I've actively got a conservative government that's been destroying our healthcare system in Ontario, just destroying it. And they're doing it so they can start privatizing. This is an attempt for them to privatize healthcare here. So that means, now I'm going to have to start paying the same way Americans do. I don't know how any of you guys do it. I don't like, I couldn't, I don't know. I don't understand how a government's going to make you go into debt when you don't have to. It's very obvious that healthcare, like total healthcare countrywide, is doable. Many countries do it. Sorry, it's just.
Yeah, no, we.
That's another thing.
But I think a lot of it comes down to, and not to always keep bringing it back to the labor movement, but the one thing like we learn quickly when workers try to organize, the first thing the bosses will do is they try to divide us, right? They're going to try to divide us by how we look. They're going to try to divide us by what job we do. They're going to try to divide us by how much money we make. They're going to try to divide us by where we come from. They're going to try to divide us by who we love. They're going to try to divide us by how we identify. And the more they can...
Who puts those people in charge?
That's the thing, right? Is we do... because we are fed this, I believe, this notion of individual, at least in America, we have this notion of rustic individuality, right? This sort of Wild West sort of make it on your own. And, I don't want to say screw everybody else, but it's also like, this idea that you are the most important. And I'm not saying everybody feels this way. I'm saying this is kind of a societal thing. And so what you lose in that is exactly what you're talking about, this idea of a government that is there. And yes, we pay taxes to take care of others. Like, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, it actually makes us more human to do that, not less human. And it actually, I think, will make you happier as a human being if you help people rather than hurt people.
I'm pretty sure that's scientifically proven. If you help, if you contribute to the betterment of someone or something else, that makes you feel good. I've learned that. I'm a can guarantee you that that's a thing. And it's the best. It feels so good. I don't know why people try to shy away from that.
And not to say, I don't either, except I think it's easy to get people to focus so much on themselves, whether it's and easier, I think, now through social media and others where, they can just be fed sort of this algorithm of hate and this algorithm of other that, and not an algorithm of, acceptance and because the few billionaires who control that algorithm win, right? They win when that happens, just like they win an organizing campaign when that happens. When we are divided and pointing fingers at each other, they walk away with everything.
Yep.
So that's my life lesson of the day.
I feel like that's historically proven too.
I think it is, but if we're not taught that, right? If we're not taught what you talked about stealing indigenous kids in either say you assimilate or not.
Yeah.
Because we're going to feel bad. It's okay to feel bad because then you don't want that to happen to somebody else, right? But if you never made to feel bad, it's easier to let it happen.
Paying attention to these things that are harming other communities or even in history that have harmed other communities, you have to learn from that. That's a famous quote. You have to learn your history or you're doomed to repeat it. Isn't that the quote?
We were learned that. I don't know if we were taught that, right? Like there's a difference between.
That's what I mean. But like practice what you preach, bro. I mean, in terms of like, our education system, you're going to teach us that, but then you're going to pick and choose what it is that we're going to learn from. You know what I mean? Learn from history or you're doomed to repeat it, right? Like, okay, so yeah, we go through World War II. Don't do that. Bad. Holocaust, bad. Nazis, bad. Yes, we know. That's drilled into our heads. But like, what about the genocide that happened here? It's the same thing in different eras with different techniques. I just, sorry, it's hypocritical, in my opinion. You have to teach it all, especially the one that directly affects why I'm sitting in this desk at this school today, like.
Well, I think you have to teach it all. And I also think going back to mental health to kind of maybe wrap this up, I also think, like we just said, like if you are happier because you are giving to others, maybe for some that will help their mental health to also not get to a place of, never feeling good about themselves, never feeling good or seeing the good in others. Because if we're not taught and if we're not seen, whether it's by parents, whether it's through a school, whether it's through society, that giving is better than taking, I can see how that could be a mental health crisis.
Anyone who's isolated is susceptible to manipulation from cults. I don't know about you. I'm sure down there too, but like up here in the 80s and 90s, there was a mass like Nazi recruitment thing going on in my area. And, there's a movie called Higher Learning. And it really depicts what I'm trying to say, where they prey on people who are isolated because they're easily manipulated because they don't feel seen. So give them that, Critical thinking is so important. And it's so important that is taught as well. And that could go so well with learning different histories and then tying them together and then formulating opinions based on that. I just feel like we'd all be so much smarter.
I certainly feel we'd be more compassionate to each other.
Yes.
Right? We'd be more accepting of each other.
Absolutely. It's just understanding each other and acknowledging that not everything's great just because it's great for you doesn't mean it's great for everyone else. And you have to share, And
it doesn't mean
it's not a very difficult concept.
And it doesn't mean I have to like you, right? Like to accept you doesn't mean I have to like you. Like it's okay if not everybody likes you. I know not everybody likes me. I'm okay with that. Right? Doesn't mean I don't acknowledge and see them as a human being, and 100%. Wouldn't help them if I could in some way. But like this idea of, putting, putting people down to build yourself up, I think, is something that we've been constantly sold over the last, here in America, the last several decades of.
Well, yeah. Look at all your major corporations. That's all they do is put people down and build themselves up. That's why they have all the money. And they do it in different ways. It's very tactful. And the more you isolate someone and you put them down and you don't show them a way to a path to grow, if you have that opportunity to give that to them, if you're in a position of power like that, you're not helping anyone. It's just so self-serving. And as a society, if we're all going to be contributing and living together, sharing a space, then I don't know why we can't relate that to things like unions and jobs and, equity. That whole, what was it, DEI thing. I don't understand why. It's like, let's make an effort to see if we can find someone qualified that it fits a specific type of person. So it's not just, why wouldn't you want your staffing diverse? You're going to bring, like, from a sales point of view, if you've got one group of people coming in to buy a car and all they see is someone that usually tears them down, they're going to be like, let's go to a different dealership. And if they see someone that looks like them, they're going to be like, oh, I want to buy this thing. And it goes to show you as well, as a young person growing up listening to bands, I wanted to be in a band. I knew that very early into my teens. I knew that. I was rebellious spirit. And I didn't see a ton of women doing it. So all I had to go off of was based off of how men do it. And it turns out their experience isn't the same as mine, even if I try to do it the same way as theirs. And I didn't have a ton of female presence on the local live spectrum, in that scene. There weren't a ton. There were a few of us. We weren't very good, but it's all we had. And very few of them, even now, I don't see a ton of women. You see more. Don't get me wrong. You see a lot more, but it's still not a lot. And, had I had that presence of a woman doing it, I don't even know how that might have changed my own course. It could have been maybe better. I did it anyway because I was damn determined to play rock and roll for as long as I could. So far, so good. But even buying my first guitar, even I work at a music store instrument company, a music instrument company, and I'm the only woman on my sales floor. I'm the only one. There's like a staff of 11. I'm one woman, and that's it. And I remember being 13 or 14, getting my very first guitar. There were no women to sell me any guitars. So now I make it a point. If I see a young girl or a young person that could be part of LGBT, someone who's different, I make it a point to go and be like, no, look at this. You could do this on this guitar. It's so cool. This person likes that guitar, and that's why they play Les Pauls all the time. Like, I just try to show them as much of the world and possibilities from a perspective that isn't, the white dude that wants to sell you a guitar, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, it does. And what it says to me, which I think can say so much to hopefully folks who listen to this, is just see people, right?
Yeah.
It makes such a huge difference to people when they're seen.
Absolutely. And try to see them without casting an immediate judgment based on maybe biased things you've seen in the past, like people need to get more aware, more self-aware. They need to become more self-aware, and they need to be more aware of what they're seeing. Recognize that 90% of what they see on their social media feeds, even their Google searches, is catered to them based on past histories, past browsing histories. You know what I mean? And be aware of that. And I think people need to start challenging ideas that maybe they don't align with on either side. Just start challenging and then do it with a solid argument. Give a valid reason why you're against something. And I feel like most of those MAGA people that sit out in the rain under a covering to protest their cause that they're so firmly believing in, maybe they actually will start challenging their own ideals. Give them an opportunity to do that.
and be okay with being uncomfortable. That's the other thing I'll say. Like, I'm not around a lot of trans people, and I've come to terms with it's okay for me to feel a little uncomfortable learning how to, I don't want to say learning how to enter, but like, I'm not used to it. So it's going to be uncomfortable for me at first, but that's the only way for me to get comfortable is to be uncomfortable. And
I think it's the most important part, though, is that you're going out of your way to make sure that they're comfortable at the expense of your own comfortability, which is an amazing thing. And I wish more people had that mindset. I wish more people were okay with like, okay, I don't get this fully, but I want to, so I'm going to try and be okay with failing at it, Know that your intentions aren't to harm, and you'll be okay. What's that? Bad religion, pure heart, strong mind. Can't remember the whole quote. It's a bridge on it. It's a chant.
Well, we should all learn more bad religion chant. We'd all be in a better place. But while we do all this, there's nothing to say we can't have a little fun. And that means going to an anti-queen show and go have a little fun and experience, something maybe different for you, but certainly go experience some fun live music, right? Like while all this is going on, we don't want to forget, like a lot of people want to say, oh, I need an escape. We don't want to escape it. But it doesn't mean we can't have fun in our rebellion.
And I think that actually ties in really well what Anti-Queens is all about. We want to have fun. It's why we're doing this. Because keep in mind, you're a musician at not a very high level. You're not like on a tour bus. You're not touring in luxury. All your clothes have been dirty for a week and you have to wear smelly stuff on stage. And, but it's just a labor of love. But sorry, crap, I lost my train of thought. I got distracted by the fact that I've worn disgusting clothes on stage before.
Well, that's part of touring.
I can't remember where I was going with that. How embarrassing.
That's all right. I'm going to end. Well, I don't say I'm going to end this, but I'm going to, I used to do concert photography, which is why I got so embedded in live music and got to experience so much different live music. And one of the bands that I got that actually broke my nose of doing photography, which, was a great band. I think they're still out there. Also Canadian, was Kitty, right? One of the few female, really hardcore metal
really
bands.
Heavy.
Really heavy.
Very heavy metal.
Very
yes,
heavy.
Very heavy.
And awesome, right? Like, and I do believe, my own personally, like if they weren't female and they were just judged on the music, probably would have maybe been a little bigger than they were. That's just my own feeling.
Yeah, we've seen it 1,000 times.
I thought they were
There's
awesome.
Right around Avril Lavigne, when Avril Lavigne started coming up, Canadian, by the way. We all know that. But when Avril Lavigne started coming up, there was another artist, Sky Sweetnam, who tried to do the same thing. And she didn't quite get as far as Avril, but
I interviewed Sky.
She's now... Have you?
I did.
Awesome. So
back
I was
when
going to say...
a long time ago, yes.
Now she's in like a heavy metal band that's like this weird reggae metal fusion. It's so crazy. And sorry, it just made me think of that. But she was doing the exact same thing as Avril Lavigne, but we already had one, so we don't need another one. And then we had another group called Lilix that was a band, 4-piece band, but we didn't want them because they were a little overweight. They weren't as skinny as Avril, And this is no shade to Avril, just so we're clear. I'm just using Avril as the core example here, but like that's how it's viewed, and that's what I witnessed growing up. So I have all of these insecurities entering the music industry, and I still have them as a woman, and it's just based on what I see.
And it goes back to the Lil Affair, right? They started that because like everything, well, we can have one female artist on this, festival. That was the formula before Lil Affair. And it seems like we're definitely falling back into that of maybe not even having any, but at least at the time, it was like, oh, we have one female artist. That's what we do. And then Sarah McLachlan said, fuck that. We are going to do a festival only female artist. And it was awesome. And we are, I think, falling right back. As you mentioned earlier, history will repeat itself if we don't learn from it.
Absolutely. And that's why I don't know there's festivals with like, I think it's like Creed. It's Creed and like, Limp Bizkit wannabe bands that had like a single or two, and they're doing this massive festival. Like it's this big festival. All their names are huge on it. And it's just like, it's a sausage party. I don't know. It's just like, why? Why do we need this? This is taking up
Tech Bro
decent
Fest.
festival space.
Is it Tech Bro Fest?
Yeah,
Is that
like
the name of it?
Red Pill Fest.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope the conversation was good. I had a great time having the conversation, and everybody out there, just hold on, right? Like, it is a rough time we are in.
If I could just real quick wrap that up, the song, if you are in a headspace where you feel like you're hurting yourself or you feel like you don't want to exist anymore, just get a second opinion first. There are so many resources out there. Well, maybe not in the US anymore, thanks to your government, but go online, reach out. Because the number one thing amongst people that feel this way is the reason they don't reach out, and the reason why people are always flabbergasted when it happened is because they hide it, because deep down they feel like it's a burden, because they know it's not a good thing, and they feel the pain from it, and they don't want to impose that on other people. So just check on your friends, do a temperature check once in a while, and talk to your friends if you have bad feelings, if you have like a really if you're noticing you're just in a rut, you need to talk to someone. Human interaction can cause so much healing, just that action alone. And, my plea to anyone listening, if you do feel that way, take that super brave step and reach out to someone. Just one person. Try it. Try it first. That's it.
Well, yeah, I don't even know what to say after that, except, I know there are a ton of organizations here in Ohio that, despite this administration, are still doing unbelievable work in communities.
You've got some amazing groups happening down there. And, every now and then TikTok shows me some of them, and it makes my heart so happy. It's great to see Bernie and AOC on tour. Like, that is so cool. And, it's great to see that. And it's great to see the turnout that they're having at these rallies. They're not even campaigning. You know what I mean? Like, they're just doing it. And I think that should be, I hope for most, a tiny little beacon of hope that people are willing to step up and fight back. And, you've got other incredible politicians that are speaking up. They're using TikTok. They're using social media. You should go listen to them. Jasmine Crockett. Oh, my God, I love her. She is a badass.
Yeah, she's taking no shit right now.
That, and it's just like, I like that some of these politicians in the U.S., they're starting to go against the norm. They're going against the grain, and you saw that with Kamala's TikTok. You saw the change, in my opinion, there, where they started really utilizing the TikTok to get more traction and more following and reach different demographics. And I love that Jasmine Crockett is swearing. Is just like telling someone to fuck off when they ask her about Elon Musk. Like, fuck off. Amazing. Do that more. We saw that actually up here a couple months ago. The leader of our new Democratic Party, Jagmeet Singh, he got in someone's face. Like, two people that were filming him and like heckling him for no reason other than he was walking by, and they're conservative. And they started heckling him and said I can't remember what was said, but like, he stops and turns around and walks right up to them and gets in their face. He didn't swear, but he got mildly aggressive, which you don't see from politicians, not up here. So I like this shift with the younger politicians, and Bernie, really starting to like get more aggressive with it, because I think that's what you need. That's what we need younger, aggressive politicians that are actually for the people. My 2 cents.
Well, and the only way to defeat a bully is to stand up to a bully. And
absolutely,
we are, unfortunately, have a government run by bullies right now, but they will, like most, cave if you stand up to them and you get in their face. So, you mentioned for folks who, maybe feeling a little or a lot helpless or very burdened or feel like there's too much going on, come to one of our protests. There'll be thousands, hundreds of people who will be glad to have you. come April 22nd to the Anti-Queen show in Newport, where there'll be plenty of people who will welcome you. I know from your shows, from most punk band shows, acceptance is critical. And if you're a wallflower, that's okay. And if you're going to get in the pit, that's okay. But just come and be with fellow human beings, and 90% of the time, you're going to feel better.
I can tell you right now, guaranteed, Anti-Queen shows are a safe space, because one thing that we will never stop doing is calling bullshit out if it happens right in front of us. We can get mean if we need to. So, and there's been more than one time we've stuck up for fans, and there's been more than one time where we've had to stick up for ourselves. So, you have a problem at an Anti-Queen show, you come find Anti-Val.
Well,
I'll handle it.
All right. So that may be me. I don't know, but I look forward to seeing the show. I very much appreciate you taking the time. I probably went way over your time from planting flowers to.
It's fine. I'm here voluntarily. This is a good conversation. I'm a big fan.
And yeah, welcome soon to the United States. Hopefully we're in a little better place than we are now.
Hopefully they let us in.
Well, maybe after this.
That's the current stress right now, is them checking our phones and seeing that one or two times I was like, why did you elect this guy again? And they're going to be like, nope, you're an enemy of the country. You're going to jail. You're going to immigration jail. I don't know. I'm hoping everything will be fine. So far, all the musicians we've talked to that have crossed said it's normal.
Yeah, well, we hope so. And if we probably aired this before, so if we're the cause, we apologize if you can't come across.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to get our visas. We're going to pick them up at the border next weekend, and then we leave a few days later. We can go a couple days early to get the paperwork and get processed.
Okay.
And that we've found over the years, it's better to go the night before, without your gear, without everything, not on the day of a show. And just because you never know what can happen. We've been held up for 5 hours at the border before, so we'll see. But yeah, hopefully we get our visas and they don't send me to immigration jail somewhere in the South.
Yeah, or worse.
Or worse. You're right.
Yeah.
They could do worse than that.
Yeah, the fact that they're just taking people off the street with non-uniformed, it's
there's, I'm sorry, I know you want to wrap up, but just one more thing. There is a conversation up here, as I'm sure there is down there, but there's a conversation up here within my community that I see. Like my neighborhood, where people are talking like, is it safe to go down there? Like, people actually don't know if it's even safe for them. And I've heard of LGBT persons don't even bother. Don't go. They're being advised not to go by the music union. They're saying it might not be safe. That's crazy to me. We were told to, like, my hair's pink. We were told for us to cover our wacky hair colors when we're crossing.
Huh.
We're told to we're told to not even bring our phones. Like, this is wild and shocking to me, because I've been going to the US for years. Even as a child, I've got family down there. So, this is so crazy to me. I've always viewed the two countries as like one big unit that works together, and we're all the same. That's how I've always seen it. We're two different countries, but we're bros, I don't get this. What's going on right now? I think it's really stupid.
I don't either, but, two phrases to wrap up: elbows up.
Yes.
And hold on.
That's right. Hold on for sure.
All right. Well, we hope to see you April 22nd in Kentucky if all goes well at the border. If not, I will send my number. And if you need any help, we'll see if some of our union folks can come help out.
Sounds good.
All
well,
right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thanks so much. You as well.
Bye-bye.